You've probably heard quite a lot about GDPR or data protection or cybersecurity recently. It never seems out of the news. But for a lot of people, it's really difficult to understand what all of these new regulations mean for them. So in this little video, I'm going to just talk you through some basic steps that we should all be taking as small business owners to become compliant and start to protect ourselves in a world where cybercrime is unfortunately increasing week by week. The lines or boundaries between cybersecurity, cybercrime and GDPR compliance are actually very fine and often quite blurred. So these 5 basic steps that I'm going to outline for you really apply to both scenarios. And the first one is to make sure that all of your devices are password protected. By password, I'm including optical facial recognition, fingerprint recognition, or any other kind of lock, if you like, that you need to actively unlock. But that's the first and most important step all of us need to take when we're protecting our devices from cyber criminals, the bad guys as I like to call them, and when we're starting to comply with our obligations under data protection legislation. The second step is to take a bit more care of locking down the hard drives within our devices. This is really an element of disk encryption, which comes as standard with most of our smartphones, but actually needs to be switched on in laptops and computers, in most instances at least. And this is one of the reasons why it pays to use professional operating systems rather than home or school versions of operating systems, because they come with this built in. When you switch on hard disk encryption, it means that if you leave your laptop on the train or someone can access it across the internet, the information that they'll see on the disk is gobbledygook. They can't get any kind of relevant information off that disk unless they have your password, which is the first step to taking the necessary precautions. And then the third step is to make sure that you're keeping your operating system up to date at all times. I don't mean the second it's released, but within a day or two of the big manufacturers releasing updates to Windows or to the Apple operating system, or on your iPhone or your Android device, you should be installing those updates. These days, most of those updates relate to security patches. They're tracking and searching for vulnerabilities all the time and issuing all of these new releases to help protect us. But of course, they make no difference unless we click the install button. And then we finish with a couple of basic elements to protect ourselves. Number 1, run a reputable antivirus. And this applies if you're on a Mac as well. These days, Macs are not immune to viruses and cybercrime. They're just as vulnerable as Windows devices, and therefore you should be running a suitable antivirus. It doesn't have to be expensive, but make sure you go with a reputable name. And then the last thing, which is more of a fallback plan than a protection, if you like, is to always keep a backup of your data. Because the fastest way to restore completely, should you suffer a catastrophic event, is to actually bring your data back and reinstall it on a newly formatted device. So there you go. 5 simple steps we can all take. There's a lot more that you can do. And as your business gets more sophisticated, you'll probably need to add extra layers of security. But as a starting point, that's good for everybody. If it all seems a bit daunting, give me a call and I'll happily chat you through it.